G'day and welcome to another episode of Kiwi Car Life. And a few weeks ago I finished restoring a B6 Audi S4 here on the channel. And what a lovely car it was. 4.2 litre V8 in the front, one of the best feeling manual transmissions thanks to the short shifter in the middle, in a timeless looking all-wheel drive sports sedan. And before that I restored a crash damaged B8.5 Audi S5 with the snarly supercharged V6, snappy dual clutch gearbox, and again a timeless all-wheel drive sports four-door coupe body style. Both were excellent in their own right, but arguably the perfect car would be the combination of the two, the V8 and manual transmission from the B6, but with the newer B8 interior and exterior build quality and design. And that is what this car here is. And today we're going to see if it really is one of the best budget Audis that you can buy. The engine is Audi's well-renowned 4.2 litre V8. While Audi has been using this engine for decades, it's gone through a number of revisions. When it first came out in the early 1990s, it was designed as more of a luxury engine. It had 32 valves and a front-mounted cam belt. But when they redesigned it in the early 2000s for the B6 S4, they gave it 40 valves, 5 valves per cylinder, and ditched the cam belt for a mid-mounted timing chain. Now normally that wouldn't be so much of an issue, save for the fact that they used fairly weak plastic timing chain guides that like to let go around 200,000 kilometers. As a result, because the chain is very hard to access, replacing those timing chain guides is an engine out job, which scares a lot of people away from these engines. This one though is the very last iteration of the non-RS 4.2 litre V8. They went back to 32 valves but installed fuel stratified injection or direct injection system. As a result, this one is the most powerful version that you can buy in an Audi S car. It makes 260 kilowatt or 350 horsepower at 7,000 RPM and 440 newton meters of torque. Some pretty healthy figures. Not quite on the level of the RS4 and RS5. They had well over 300 kilowatt, but 260 is still plenty. This engine could be paired up with either a 6-speed automatic, which I reviewed a couple of years ago on the channel, and thanks to that one having just about every single modification you could possibly do to these cars to make it drive amazing. That one, even with an automatic, was sensational. But this one, fortunately, even though it is in bone stock condition, has a 6-speed manual transmission. And of course, the engine and gearbox are paired up with a proper quattro four-wheel drive system. No Helldex to be seen here. This is a rear-biased all-wheel drive system for go-anywhere performance. And now finally the interior. When I reviewed a B8 S4, I got myself in a bit of trouble in the comment section because I said I wasn't a huge fan of the interior. And what I meant was not the build quality. These cars are supremely well made here on the inside, and it wasn't the design. It was just the layout of everything. Having been used to Hondas and BMWs my entire life, which tend to have a very simple and easy to use layout, this one with like 35 buttons across the dashboard was just a bit of a sensory overload. But having now owned a few Audis, I've sort of gotten used to the way that Audi likes to do things, and to be honest, it's actually not all that bad. The steering wheel is probably the most dated part about this car because this is an early one. With the B8.5 they improved it significantly, but the gauges, grey face with a central screen, everything you could possibly need, and a speedo that goes to 300 k's an hour. It's got auto lights and wipers, it's got cruise control, it's got keyless entry and a very cool push button start down here, along with an electric handbrake, brake hold which makes it easy to take off when starting on a hill, and the rest of the interior is just very ahead of its time, with a crisp infotainment display up here that features Bluetooth and a reversing camera. A lot of cars from this era, they really did not think through where you're going to put your phone, where you're going to put your drink bottles, but in this B8 they did. There are drink bottle holders in the doors, there's 2 good sized cup holders here in the middle, and there is a perfect slot for your phone. This car really was ahead of its time. The seats are extremely comfortable. The back seats are surprisingly usable, a lot better than the seats in my TT, for example. And while the manual gearbox doesn't feel incredible, it's really not bad. The clutch is light, the pedal box is placed well for heel toe. Overall, this is a perfect balance. So, let's go for a drive. Driving the B8 S5 manual. Oh yeah. That is definitely 260 kilowatt. Drives very similarly to my B6. A little bit faster, I reckon, and a little bit quieter. Less road noise, less wind noise. Just a more refined experience, and it's just perfectly suited for roads like this. Ride quality doesn't beat you up, it's not too much power where you can't go full throttle, and because it's naturally aspirated, this is what I love about NA and supercharged engines. Put your foot down at 2,500, you get 150 kilowatt, but drop a gear and put your foot down at 5,000, now you're getting the full 200, 250, 260 kilowatt. You're fully in control with this car. And dare I say, this thing drives 8/10 of an RS4, but for half the price. And while I haven't been a particularly big fan of four-wheel drive cars, there are definitely some significant advantages to it. Namely, just its ability to put power down predictably. While you're not going to be sliding this thing around like you would, say, an M3, it's just a confidence-inspiring car. So what would I change? I think if you put a short shifter on this, like what my B6 had, that would really improve the transmission feel. The throws are fine, they're just a wee bit long, that's all. Slightly better steering feel would definitely be nice to have, and I just wish that these engines just weren't so fragile. Like, they're great engines when they're working, but unfortunately, one day the timing chains are probably gonna let go, and then you're gonna be hit with a massive bill, and it'll just kind of sour what is otherwise an absolutely brilliant car. Because the engine, so good. Gear ratio is perfect, look at that. Bang on 100 Ks in second gear, just what you want. Not too long, not too short. This is why I am biased towards European cars, as a lot of people say. It's not necessarily because they're better than Japanese cars, they're certainly not more reliable, but they are better at just doing everything. What other V8 manual gearbox car can you get for like 15 grand that revs to 7,000 RPM, making a lot of power for just a 4.2 litre engine? That still drives, not extremely raw, but raw enough where you still feel something when you drive it, and you still got a smile on your face that makes a noise that good. Like, there's not much on the market that does what this does for this price. There is a lot to love about this car, and if you buy one with good service history or one that's had the chains done, you will absolutely love this thing. Everything that I could possibly look for. Good value for money, perfect amount of power, great noise, lovely interior with a manual gearbox, and cruise control, my favorite feature. Listen to that, just cannot beat it. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this look at what is, in my mind, one of the best value for money and best driving mid-2000s Audis that you can buy. And like I said, if you can get one of these with good service history, you're gonna love it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.